Hey everybody, how's it going? My name is Will, and I'm gonna call this entry or this series I'm gonna do called "Journal of a Man That Had No Plan." And essentially, I'm just gonna be just talking about my thoughts that I have, here and there every day, and just what my outtakes have looked like in life, and how confusing things have gotten the more the older that I have gotten, and like especially the challenges that came with 2022, and honestly, just the last 2 or 3 years of what we've gone through. Now about to enter this new year, it just feels like a lot of things that we knew when we were younger are coming crashing down, in a sense. And in fear of sounding like my parents, I just feel like it might be a generational thing. Um, I don't know. I just feel like a lot of things that seemed so simple when we were, in our teen years or our, elementary school years that just don't make sense anymore. And the thought worries me. Now, I'm only 32 years old. I'm not, by all means, a wise or smart person, but, I am a person that does have thoughts. And one of the things that I feel like a lot of problems that some of us have. I can't speak for anyone really, except for speaking for myself. I think one of the problems we have is a lot of us were raised to people please, and it kind of makes hard to adjust to society when there are things you want, but you keep putting others ahead of you. So times are hard, and I get it. Today's thoughts are more kind of my starting thoughts, and it may seem a bit jumbled because this first video, I'm just kind of feeling it out, seeing how I feel about talking on camera. I have no script whatsoever, so we're doing this just straight off the dome. um, but yeah, today I don't know. I feel like I just wanted to speak and record this so when I watch it back later, I can know where my head was at, as we progress into this new year. But I didn't want to start on the first because I feel like we all wait to do things at the beginning of a month or a beginning of a year and just to give it a starting point. But I feel like that adds more stress to it, It's just like, if you have a thought or if you want to start something, start today, just do it. And that's what we're doing. But yeah, the reason why I chose the title, Journal of a Man That Had No Plans, because honestly, I feel like for the majority of my life, I kind of gone through it without a plan. I'll pick something up if it makes sense. I'll just go with it, whether I liked it or not. And I feel like that's what a lot of people don't realize. With a lot of people, just because you're good at something doesn't necessarily mean you love it. I was raised in a cultural home. My family's from Ghana, West Africa. I did not learn the language. Do I understand a little bit of it? Sure. But I don't speak it, and I feel like that played a big role in why, I didn't really felt feel comfortable at home. Because I feel like I was the outcast. But then again, I also didn't make you know, a conscious effort to like try to learn it when I was a kid because we're doing so much, between helping out my mom with her shop because she wanted to run a store, going to school every day, and and the only time I really saw my cousins or people from my culture is when I went to church, and we would go to church, Friday nights, sometimes Saturday, and then every single Sunday. And it's hard because we were always taught like, hey, if someone asks you to do something, do it. And you do. I mean, that's what you learn. That's how you're raised, at least in my culture. And, things just were just were. Things were selected. Things were said to me. I wasn't a very athletic kid, well, at least not until like my senior year of high school. I was really into theater. I did that for a very long time, but I didn't have, I used to say, a base, a backup, or someone to push me to keep doing it. I mean, granted, my parents are from Ghana, West Africa, so me and my siblings are first generation here. So it's not like I could have really asked them to do a lot for me because they were already doing so much, just to get us to this country and start our lives here. And for that, I'm going to be forever grateful. Like, I can't knock my parents down for sacrificing their entire life to come here, for better opportunity. And it's just crazy to think that, like this is the thoughts I think about. Like, on one hand, like, I want to respect that, and like I want to say I understand. My parents are always working. They were doing a lot for the church and things like that. They're good people. On the other hand, I feel like I didn't really have my parents with me, and that sounds terrible because I know there are people out there with actually no parents, and people who are in single family homes and things like that. And I don't want to be disrespectful to that community, but I'm just talking about my thoughts. And it sucked because I feel like I didn't get to have that relationship with my parents. Like, I don't call my dad and tell him what I did today or how today went. Usually our conversation is how's work is good, how are you guys doing, how are you adjusting, how's the weather, the basic questions. And then that's it. I don't tell them about that I'm doing a new martial art class now, or that I went to Zumba today. It's more, it's, I hate to say it, like the bare minimum, and that sucks. But, that aside, that's more of a personal thing. But what's really weird nowadays is the whole not being able to speak your mind and speak your mind at the same time. People are totally for, speaking out for what their thoughts are, saying, for freedom of speech, but then there are certain things we can't say to certain people, or what we have to, I don't know, best way to say this, like, acknowledge other people. I mean, I'm all for it, I'm glad that, people are really expressing themselves nowadays, but like, I feel like we're losing, a lot of individuality. Like, we're getting punished for thinking a certain way, and I don't think that's fair. I know I'm being super vague, but I just don't want it to sound like I'm attacking anyone. But that's also the funny thing, because like, that's the issues I'm having. You can't, I don't know, it's just tough to do in the thing. And like, people always say you have to take a stance, and it's just like, why do I have to, because it makes you complacent, makes you ignorant. That doesn't make any sense to me. Like, I can keep saying I get it, but at the same time, I don't. Life was so much simpler. And it's funny because all of our parents, all of our mentors or guardians have told us many times, like, hey, what you have going on is not bad. Like, because we were stressed about what? Not being able to go out past 10. I wasn't able to get McDonald's one day, so now my life is ruined. And then you move out, you get your degrees and stuff. If you even decide to get a degree, honestly, I should have went to trade school. Tangent for another time. But like, now it's just like, life has really took a turn. Like I said, I'm 32 years old, and it's just like, I don't even feel like an adult, to be honest. When you're younger, you look up to all these things, to all these people. And it's like, whoa, man, they're paying bills, they're going to work every day, and you're just like, oh man, how am I going to figure it out? And like, honestly, like, I bought a house this year. This is where I am now. I'm in my office right now. And it's like, No one tells you that, what a mortgage is. Granted, like you have an idea of it, but like the process in itself is a nightmare. I'm telling you guys right now, like full disclosure, this video is gonna be all over the place, all over the place. Because I am just, it's basically a rant. I should change this thing to Journal of a Man that has to rant, because there's just so many thoughts and there's no way I'm getting organized. So strap in. But yeah, back to the housing process. It's just, it's so hard to get a house nowadays. And like, before people were like, yeah, man, my house is 400,000, 500,000, 1.2 million. And you're hearing these numbers going into the process thinking, I have like $4,000 in my account. How are people out here buying these things? Like, seriously. And just to realize, loans. Like, this place is built on loans. I have a loan. I technically have 2 mortgages right now. Not really. I have 1 mortgage right now, and then I have my student loan debt, which is atrocious right now. Because I did go to grad school and get my doctorate in pharmacy. So I am a pharmacist. I work at a home health infusion center. And it's just like looking at these numbers at the end of the day, even after working, you work your full 40 hours or 40 to 60 hours, depending on, what field you're working in. And you get your paycheck, half of it's going to God knows where, we just label it taxes, and we're all like, yeah, taxes, yeah, sure. And it's just like taking all this money that I worked for, and then on top of that, I'm still paying taxes on stuff that I'm buying. So it's like, am I even making any more money? Like, honestly, I'm a pharmacist. I make 6 figures, but it feels like I'm still making less than 20K a year. And it's just a crazy thing to think about. Like, we spent, like, at least for, people in my generation, between the ages of like, 20 to 40. Honestly, yeah, let's say 20 to 40, sure. But like, growing up, you always have this image in our head. Like, we all have this image in our head. Like, hey, 18, I'm gonna go to college. I'm gonna get a good job, settle down, get a house, get a car, get a freaking dog or something, and then by 30, I'm ready to retire because, we were big fingers back then. And then you get to a point where things just feel like I am aimlessly walking around just trying to figure out what I want to do. Honestly, pharmacy wasn't even on my radar remotely. It's something I stumbled upon my senior year in undergraduate. And I wasn't even working at the pharmacy at the time. I was working pushing carts, for like $8.50, which is ridiculous if you think about it nowadays and the way rent is now in most places. Like, no one can survive on minimum wage at all. And I feel like a lot of places are changing. People are starting at 15, 16, and that's great. But like, everything else is increasing with it, and it's like, what are we doing? And I don't know. I just feel like I have accomplished a lot, but I also still feel like I'm stuck. Like, how is it that we are constantly in an influx of like something always happening? Like I think about it, and like, I think about it even before I was born, when like people didn't have phones and computers and stuff. Like, things were, but that's because you didn't see everything. Now, I'm not saying that's a good thing, but at the same time, I'm saying like, back when I was in, middle school, the news was where you got your news. Like, you turn on the TV, and whatever you watch, whether you're on whatever side of the political spectrum, and you got your news from that, and you're like, man, that's crazy. But, then we would go about our day, whether I'm doing homework, after school activities, helping out my mom doing stuff, like, playing regular video games that weren't online because, we all had AOL, and it was, comparatively to what we have now, crap. You know what I mean? And you hear this everywhere. You'll hear it on every single, you hear it on podcasts, you hear it on YouTube. And I'm not original. I'm not creating any new content. I'm just ranting. And what you hear is we have too much information now and we don't even know what to do with it. Like, you can literally Google anything. At this point, I don't even know if any of us know anything. But like I said, I can only speak for myself. But like, it's hard to, the fact that there's so much news out there, but we can't always decipher if what the news we're getting is the right one. Because one day you'll see someone saying, oh, so-and-so said this, and now this person's condemned, just to find out the person's condemned for actually doing something illegal, and this person was talking about something completely different. So now we're all misinformed, but people are like, oh, but you can go ahead and look for the information. Yeah, you could. But some of us are working, and some of us don't want to. You may call me lazy. That's fair. That's fine. But at the end of the day, it's just like, you can only do so much in a 24-hour period, you know? I mean, I had the day off today. And you know what I got done? Nothing. I sat around all day. I caught up on shows. I mean, I did push-ups, but other than that, didn't leave the house today. I mean, I have so much to do. I still got to paint. I still got to finish my guest room. And it just feels like there's just so much going on. You know what I mean? But who's to say that I'm wrong and just taking a day off, you know? I've had a year. This year has definitely been emotionally tough. And, you know, that is a sentence, if you would ask me 10 years ago, would I have ever said that? And the answer would have been no. That's not a phrase I would have said. I thought my emotions were in check. You know? This is another tangent, or this is another topic right now. Let's talk about emotions for a second. You know, I feel like within the recent years, people are starting to find out that, you know, men are having a lot of mental issues. And most of it just kind of goes undiagnosed because, you know, that's how we've always lived, especially like throughout my 20s. It's not that therapy was frowned upon in my family. It's just we didn't need it, you know? Like, you know, if you had a problem, you're like, you know what? I'm being crazy. Box it up, put it away. You're angry, can't do anything about it. Box it up, put it away. And, you know, you get to a point where you're running out of space to put those boxes. And I hit that point this year. I 100% did. Between the pandemic and all the craziness in the world, you know, it's hard to find a moment of solace that where you can just be okay in the moment. Now, I did start therapy. I'll tell the whole world this. I don't care. I did start therapy, and it has been very helpful. I do it online, and, you know, I set up appointments. We FaceTime, an hour, and, you know, it does help. I'm not saying, you know, everyone should do it. I mean, I think everyone should do it, but, you know, it has to be your choice, 100%. Okay, because if someone's telling you, hey, you should go to therapy, that's one thing, but it's another thing where it's just like, no, you need to go to therapy. And like now it feels like you're attacking me. Like, don't feel that way. All right? If you feel like you need to talk to someone, do it. And if you're not ready to do that, then don't. Okay? You're in charge of your own life. You know, and there was a point where I thought I was in charge of mine, and this year proved me wrong. This year definitely proved me wrong. Because, you know, you always try to help family, you know, and then we're struggling through some stuff. And that took a toll on me and what was going on in the world. You know, and I'm pretty sure I can say this for a lot of people. 2020 was a year of a lot of breaking, if that makes sense to you at all. Like, relationships broke, friendships broke. There was rioting. There's so much segregation. There's so much separation to a point where like people were fearing going outside. Hell, people still fear go outside, but COVID really rocked us. It did. And whether you believe in the vaccine or not, everyone's entitled to believe what they want to believe. Because at this point, no one knows what to believe. There is no, guiding light. There is no play. And it's crazy because you get to this age, and once again, I'm not saying I'm old. I'm just saying, where I am now, 3 decades in, you get to a point where you realize, I don't even know anyone knows what they're doing. We're all just figuring it out. And it's just taking a toll. And my mental health has gotten way down. It's gotten better in the recent months. I'll tell you guys this, this might get personal. I don't care. I am on meds now. I'm taking, Prozac. I started in June to kind of help me contain my thoughts, and is it helping? I'd say so. I want to believe so. But I'm also working out and doing all the things they tell you to do. There's just a lot, Yeah. This will probably be my longest journal entry because now I'm just kind of trying to get all my thoughts out so I can finally sleep at night. And you never realize that was a problem until someone tells you it was a problem. Because even throughout grad school, pharmacy school, is just, I was averaging 3 to 4 hours of sleep a night. And, that was okay because, everyone was doing it. And now I feel like it doesn't matter if I get too much sleep or too little sleep. It's always hard to get out of bed, But I feel like a lot of us are having that problem nowadays because we're not happy. And it's just and I think my biggest issue is I have always been afraid. I have always been afraid to say I'm happy. Because I can't even count how many times I have had that thought just for it to be taken away from me. Now, I don't claim to be, a great person. I do what I can for the people around me, and that's what I try to do. I feel like recently, though, I haven't done that too much. I've been kind of locked away and tucked myself away in a corner. And I don't know how many of you can relate, but it just feels like even though that I'm sitting still, everything's still spinning. And it's one thing, when I feel like that when I'm drunk, but it's another when I'm sober and it still feels like I'm bobbing around. This just feels like I'm freaking just bitching. But maybe that's what I need. Maybe there's someone else wants to see me. Hopefully this can be a distraction for someone. If it is, hey, cool. If it's not, and you don't like what I'm talking about, that's okay too. Okay? No one's going to agree with you. And that's something I had to learn the hard way. Because, like I said, I was raised as a people pleaser. And it got to a point where I was taking in too many people's ideas and thoughts and what I should be doing and what I deserve and things like that it just drove me insane. So at the end of the day, at one point, I don't know who I am. I've always had a persona to make people laugh, to laugh at, my pain, to laugh just to get a giggle, brighten someone's day. But deep down, it's just like, is this it? Is this the world we all signed up for? Am I doing this right? Like, what's the point? You know? And I know it's a super dark thing to say, but I said it. And I need to own that. Whether or not people will like what that or not, or if it'll hurt some people, I'm sorry. It's just sometimes I wake up and just like, why? I go to work every day, except for my off days, obviously. And I feel like I'm just basically just paying, or I'm getting paid to survive. Like, I'm trying to set up this place, trying to make myself comfortable, but like at this point, all I've ever known was, school. And people are asking, are you dating? Are you dating? I'm like, well, not anymore. I just got out of a almost 2-year relationship. And it's because, we saw things different. And that's okay. And it hurt. It hurt a lot. It's been almost 3 months now. And, am I better than the first month this happened? Yeah, 100%. I do feel a little better. But like, why do things like that have to happen to teach us lessons, And like, and there's some days where I do get it. It's just like, what, things need to happen in order for you to know what you want. But why does this have to hurt so much, And, they don't teach you this stuff in school, I mean, I've had a lot of friends who have relationships, and they would come to me and ask me these questions, like, what should they do? And I'm just like, I'm not a relationship guy. Like, I spent pretty much the last decade, working towards my pharmacy degree, 4-year bachelor's, 2 years of pre-pharm, 4 years of grad school. And it's like, did I date here and there? Sure. But like, to do a relationship, I mean, I can't just blame everything on this one relationship. She was great, but we just weren't seeing eye to eye on a lot of things. And it came to a point where it's just like, what are we doing? And it's hard because, a lot of us are scared. I'll admit it. I'm a coward. I'm afraid of going into something too deep and not being able to pull myself out of it, or know when to pull myself out of it. To be honest, I should have pulled myself out of the relationship sooner. But I kept, blaming stuff on external things when honestly it was an internal fight I was having with myself every day. And that's tough to come to terms to, because you never want to think something's your fault. You never want to say you're wrong. But in recent years, the word wrong and right have become so blurred. It's like everything is hard. Because people always say, try to, imagine yourself in their shoes. And I do that. And it's a nightmare. Because now I just feel like I'm just overcompensating, for whatever it's doing. I'm always giving justifications about how people act and, what things they say to me and, what I see them do to others. And I don't, call it out because I don't know if they're in the wrong or in the right. Now let's go on another tangent on why I love anime so much and how it relates to the emotional part. Because if anything has taught me, like, next to my religion, and I did fall out of my religion for a little bit, and I'm back into my religion. I go to a non-denominational church now, and it's been helpful. But like, one thing that I learned like from anime as well as from my religion when I found my religion myself. Like, if I go any further with what I'm going to say, I'm just say, whatever religion you study it in a way that that works for you. Because one of the greatest things I was ever taught when I was in my church when I was younger, by one of my uncles, who's not technically my uncle, but it's been part of my life forever, is you can have 100 people read one Bible, and you look at 100 different versions. You need to do the version that is for you. And that stuck with me because people will, sometimes throw Bible quotes at you and say, "Oh, you're doing something wrong," and I'm just like, that's what you interpreted, okay? And I'm sorry if what you think I'm doing is wrong, but I'm not going to conform to that just because you think, now I'm going to go to hell and like I shouldn't do this anymore. No, I'm going to keep doing what I'm supposed to do because I know in my heart, because the way I would interpret that is completely different. So, I mean, that's also another problem with the world. We all have different interpretations, and we're getting to a point in this world where the interpretations are becoming like they want it to be factual, and it's just like, why can't it be a discussion? I don't know. The tangent I just did again. Back to what I was saying about the anime and the Bible thing. For emotional wise, what anime and like the Bible taught me is that no one is born evil. No one. And everything that happens is circumstance. Like, I feel like when we were growing up as kids, you'd watch these shows and you're like, oh yeah, I gotta take down the bad guy. He's evil, he wants to kill people. But and then as you get older, you realize that a lot of these villains were created by the people who we say are good. They weren't born that way. They became that way. So, and that's something that has been really messing with me within the last, honestly, I want to say, 5-6 years when I started going to pharmacy school. Because, you always see, these people who are sick. You see sick people, you see families come in, you see drug addicts come in, and they're all coming in for treatment and stuff. And then you get to a point where you don't know if you're helping or not. Is this person really sick? Am I just giving him meds for no reason? Or does this person actually need it? And then the people who do need certain medications can't afford it. And it's just like, now I'm questioning like our whole medical system. I mean, granted, everyone's questioning our medical system, but like to see it from the other side has been so mind-boggling, And it's just like how, like you see the numbers that people are, the prices of these medications. I'm telling you, like you literally got to give an arm and a leg for a lot of these medications just to survive. And that should be that's honestly that should be the key. I should have a key word for this. Let me write that down. You guys are being very helpful right now. Should have a key word for vids. This is a great first video. I'm learning a lot. I'm enjoying it. But yeah, it's hard. So when you're trickling back a little bit, when I say, putting yourself in someone else's shoes to see how they're going through, I do that and then throw myself like back. I'm like, all right, how did we get here? Why do I think this way? Who taught me this? Is there another angle I can look at it? And the problem with that is by the time I figure out the angle, stuff has already hit the fan, So, I don't know. My thoughts are wild. And, the world's crazy right now. Let's just admit it. It is. And honestly, I'm just trying to figure out how to feel okay again. And I'm hoping, these video journal entries will be a nice thing for me. It sounds selfish, but maybe it's time to be. I've given so much to a lot of people, and I don't want to say I want anything back. I don't. Everything I do for others, I try to do it to help them. Okay, I don't expect compensation. I don't expect anything back, but I'm also not giving myself anything to myself. And honestly, I think I really need to do that. So I hope, you know, going into this new year, you know, in these next couple weeks, you know, that we all learn something. You know, we all take something from this year, put it to bed, and hopefully it strengthens us for the next year. Yeah. Oh, I think I have ranted enough. It's been 35 minutes. Um, I would like to end my streams, my videos with kind of words of encouragement, uh, maybe even a prayer. I know not all of us share the same religion, but I still hope for the best for all of us. So I will end this on a prayer. Um, we thank the one on high for everything we've done today. As a new day has started, we just want to pray and say thanks that we have the guidance, the zeal, and the knowledge, the power, and just overall hope that things will get better. And as we continue on to this next day, please continue to watch over each and every one of us. Take care of us, and let's just be who we want to be. And I want to say these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen. Now, get out there and do the work you know to be good. And we will see if I even do another one of these entries. But until then, take it easy.